This podcast features adult content not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. You have been warned.
Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klouse. Let's get started.
If there's anybody in our friends group that you can tell me.
I don't think the stars would shine so bright if just one of you were not here.
My name is Ezekiel de Barbarek, at your service.
You have my sword.
You're the only person who makes me want to be better than I am.
And my axe.
I wasn't strong enough or fast enough or, I don't know, clever enough. I didn't have it in me to stop what happened.
We haven't done this before. Does that make us professional?
That would make you amateurs at best.
And if those do not help their people survive, they're cut from the pack.
You wake up from this daydream, from this nightmare. Half memory, half dream.
There's more out there to find, and there's more moments for having.
I'll find a way to be stronger next time.
I don't know fuck all about what's right.
Everyone who has ever loved you was wrong.
You can do better.
I know. I have to.
How do you want to do this?
So you're all ready to dive in? Alright, so previously, as the bronze scales made their way across the Sea of Bourne, a winged light was spotted flying towards the ship. As it landed, you saw a golden celestial of sinless radiance. The creature moved past Kalvyn and Ball, singing in Old Celestial, Ezekiel translating what he could. The creature touched the head of Ellory, who saw something beyond, as the bronze scales and the rest of the ship watched as the golden creature remounted her winged horse, flying back from whence she came. The next couple of days passed. Orzana opened up, beginning to trust. Ball helped the golden elf named Nambra to fish a saber fin. Ellory and Ezekiel had some fun in the bottom of the stove of the ship. Vesper rented Allie's alchemy station, and Amsen purchased a book. Finally, the massive island with the large mountain peak in its distance came into view. You saw Western, the homeland of Melly, and finally the city fortress upon stone, Whiteguard. The Cellarfurlune was met on the sea by a light, single-masted Western Navy ship, who inspected the shipmates and passengers. They inspected Ezekiel, thinking he's something called a gauss room. Before letting him go, Ball was told not to leave the docks. As you arrived, you told Voyeur Haladalan Auricula to watch over Orzana. The bronze scales, sans Ball, walked into Whiteguard, a city busy with soldiers, some mounted on direwolves. Vesper tried to find a library, but was turned back. It was in a district more heavily guarded. Kalvyn found a Temple to Valasol, meeting the High Beacon there, and Ezekiel got news from a dock child before walking to see the war camp. We pick up here, still a few hours before sundown, the sky blue with clouds of white waves and a gentle sea breeze hanging in the air. And we'll start with Ezekiel. We've just spoken to the dire Valkyr, King Mav, and have begun to walk away. What do you do?
You said there's a few hours before sundown?
Yeah, probably a few hours, maybe 4 in the afternoon.
Alright. I guess I'll just go for a walk temporarily. Not too far from the fort, or whatever it is. But I'm just going to be killing time for a while. If I see any particularly, high points, I don't want to go all the way to that mountain, because I feel like that's days. But, looking for somewhere high and clear where I can get a vantage point.
Okay. Roll a survival check as you're just kind of walking. The area you're at is mostly just plains with trees sparsely spread within.
I rolled a 2, so that is a 9.
Looking around, you can easily find an open space. A lot of the area has been cleared for farmlands, and a good 200 yards has been cleared around the fortress to make it hard to sneak up on the Warchild Keep. But you do find an area with a small hill. It's nothing major. It's just really a boulder. But it's something.
Is the keep higher?
The keep would be higher. You do see the distance if you headed north. Maybe a couple hours. You could probably get into some higher lands.
No, I don't want to go too far from the city. I don't know what is going to happen. So I'll just hang out until it starts to get to dusk near the tower, but not close enough where anybody would really pay attention or catch me if they go wandering outside.
Okay. So you spend the next bit just walking around, finding a place to rest here and there, waiting for dusk. And as you are doing that, Kalvyn, you were in the temple. You had met the High Beacon, Abdullah, who was speaking with you.
Yeah, Kalvyn's just nodding along. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. You know, I think you went a little too far there, but I see where you're going. I can smell where you're cooking.
And, Kalvyn, what of your glory and your virtue? He sees the look on your face. Your calling, your profession, craft. What have you chosen?
My calling is that of a
oftentimes
dragon. Cause, yep.
A dragon slayer, perhaps?
A bronze dragon. Roar. Just like that.
I see. Kalvyn, most followers of Valasol choose a glory and a virtue, a calling, your profession, soldier, smith, painter, farmer, whatever it is, a roker even. And they perfect that profession, that calling, that glory, into excellence. And they also choose a virtue, freedom, protection, healing, joy, sacrifice. It is common for the Luminars, the Knights of Valasol, to choose these things, to worship Valasol through action.
Well, okay. My dad, I grew up on my dad's farm. But when I was around, I don't know, 15, I don't remember how old I was. Years go by so quick. You know what I'm talking about. You're pretty old. They, after a certain point, I found myself in a local blacksmith's forge. There's a bug on my eye. I worked there for a while. I do fancy a good forge once in a while. But lately I've been, traveling with my compadres, and, I use my shield to assist them in their outgoings.
He nods along, forging, yes, a noble glory, and he kind of looks at your shield, noticing the dents and the massive claw marks from the Valgreth. Could use some repairs here. We do have the Sun Forge in this temple. Should you...
Oh, well, that sounds fancy. I don't know if I want to tarnish the Sun Forge with my shield. That seems...
Well, it already has been. We use fire salts to superheat the coals. It makes the metal stronger, harder. But recently someone stole these fire salts and have taken them. The hounds have tried to find them, but have had little luck. I wonder perhaps if your glory and virtues might point you to recover these for us.
I mean, I would love to help. And I would definitely appreciate to use the forge once I find these salts. But I don't know how long we're going to be on this island. I mean, if I'll talk to my friends. I'll go talk to them right now. We'll see what I can do. I don't know how long we're going to be here, but if we can, if we have time, you know.
Consider it. I would offer use of the Sun Forge as well as a hefty reward of sum of 250 gold pieces should you be able to recover the fire salts. You can come find me after you speak to your friends, or delve straight into the Winter Shade Garden.
The Winter Shade Garden? Is that where we suspect?
It's the cemetery. Well, I suspect that It was the Iltherans that stole these fire salts. I'm not sure what foul rituals they use them for. They are followers of an court arcanist of old. They hide in the drainage sewers and the catacombs beneath the city. The Wintershade Garden offers up an entrance. This is how they stole the fire salts, skeletons, from that garden. Talk to your friends and come see me, or, as I said, delve into the Wintershade Garden and the catacombs yourself.
Okay, yeah, I'll head out right now, and I'll go see if I can round them up. Just so you know, I mean, this seems like a pretty worthy cause. I don't know we'll necessarily need a reward for it. I mean, the blessing of Valasol is enough, but I mean, I'll talk to my friends and we'll see what, I'll come back. We'll work out the details later.
Good, and we can speak more of your glory and virtue then.
And glory and virtue to you too.
He kind of points his hand towards the door and kind of gestures and nods.
He tries to emulate him just on the other behind him. Like, points behind him and nods as well.
Like so many other people you've met, Kalvyn, you can see impatience growing on the man's face.
Alright, I'm gonna head out now.
And he'll kind of shuffle out. And looking back like, yep.
Where is Kalvyn going?
That's a great question.
You exit back into the streets, a few temples around, and a wooded park right next to the temple area.
Can I find my way back to the boat, ship, whatever we're calling it?
Yeah, you could do that and start heading.
I guess I'll start there.
Okay. And as Kalvyn is heading that way, I will jump back over to Vesper, Amsen, and Ellory. If I remember correctly, we'd just seen each other and flagged each other down, grouping back up.
So how'd the talk with the captain go?
Went pretty well.
Great. Well, we're not allowed into the library.
We're not.
It's in the exclusive district.
And what does it take to get in there?
Citizenship, apparently.
Or,
particularly crafty thief.
What are the defenses like?
I recount to her what I saw, which I think was just the 2 guards at the gate. And the gate and a wall.
Yeah, so at the gate itself, there's 2 guards, and the gate is part of a rampart, sort of an inner city wall, and there's a few guards that kind of rotate and patrol that. Interspersed every now and then there is a tower with what looks like more guards, possibly archers.
But there's also a bookshop, so I was just gonna head there.
Alright.
I don't really want to get arrested in a foreign port.
Me neither. And I don't like the sound of those walls particularly.
So there's something called the Riverwatch District where there's mostly shops and things, so I was going to try and head there.
That sounds good. Maybe we can stop by a clothing shop while we're in that area.
Right.
Get something for our new friend that's a little more in better repair than what she has now.
Speaking of her, we're going to need to find medical texts to borrow at the bookstore, not just the religious ones we're looking for.
Alright. You know better than I do what to look for there. Well, for either of those, really.
Yeah, well, Amsen can help too.
Yeah. I was also thinking, just quickly, we could probably pick up something nice to have for supper tonight, bring it back onto the boat, and all of us together can have a nice dinner on the boat.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Alright. So we try and find the Riverwatch District.
Okay. So you ask around. Most are fairly willing to at least point you in the right direction. Eventually finding this area. Looks like it's mostly residential, but of middle upper class. Mostly residential, a few taverns and inns here and there. And you ask around for the, what are you looking for, the bookshelf?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone roll a persuasion check for me. Let's see how long it takes.
Okay. That is a 24.
With Amsen's charming ability, you quickly get pointed in the right direction. Off the main road, there's a small alleyway. Doesn't look like heavily traveled. You walk past the side back doors of a tavern or two where it looks like cooks or bartenders have just stepped outside to smoke or just have a rest. You turn the corner and you see another alleyway, and there's a doorway with a sign above it that says the Dusty Shell.
Hopefully this is our place.
Yeah, hopefully we find something useful.
And I'll hold the door for my friends.
Okay. So you walk in, 2 half-elves, followed by a smoke genasi, into this fairly small building, shop. It's not very big. It's only maybe 15 by 20 feet. You see there's a table or two to the left and right, a singular window, and there is a countertop. Behind the countertop is about 3 shelves, not full of books, but a decent amount of books behind them, all different colors. Some of them are leather bound. Others seems to be just glued parchments together. You see a gentleman behind it, older, with short black hair, graying temples, a very thin mustache, who's he's maybe 5, 6, or 7, he's a little on the short side, wearing decent clothes, until he's wearing his best clothes, which aren't very fine, but of moderate materials. Yes, hello. What can I do for you?
Hello, my fine...
Sadius is my name.
Pleasure. My name is Amsen. My friends here were looking for some books to possibly learn a few things from them. What exactly were you looking for again?
Let's look for the medical shit first.
Right. Books on medicine would be very nice.
Particularly procedures, surgeries, and things like that.
Procedures, let me see. He sighs and turns to the shelves behind them, begins kind of pacing, just kind of eyeing the titles, trying to find something. He eventually stops on one, less of a book and more of just like a collection of parchment notes. They look like they have been bound together by string on the side. He pulls it back. It's only about 20 pages, and he kind of pulls it out and places it on the counter. This is the notes and journal of a war medic. This might be your best bet.
Can I flip through it and kind of see?
Yeah, he doesn't let you touch it, but he kind of gently turns the pages and shows. It looks like there's notes, and there's even a few rough anatomical drawings of muscles, locations of arteries, things like that. He kind of flips through. There's not many drawings. There's only maybe 3 or 4 in the whole 20 pages, and numerous handwritten notes in a sort of sideways comment.
How much for this?
This one, he kind of folds it back and pulls it closer. This is rare. There's only one of these, not mass-produced, made by a singular medic, felled in combat. And he kind of points out, there's even a few bloodstains here. One of a kind piece. I'd let it go for perhaps 15 gold pieces.
I can do that.
Well,
and I will happily pay for that.
He happily takes the 15 gold pieces.
We are also looking for possibly some obscure religious texts. Let me see what my notes say. Something about Holy Lands, besides Nyessa, perhaps.
Holy Lands, besides Nyessa? Of what religious following?
Something... Sorry, we're looking into something we're not quite understanding. That's why we're here. Something about a fallen star?
Let me see. And he turns again to the shelf, pacing through them, shaking his head every now and then. He pulls off a book, paces a little more, pulls off another one, and finally paces a little bit more and pulls off a third. Very small tomes, not big, only one of them is leather bound, and he brings these tomes to you. This one here, while not strictly religious, does note on arcane way lines, as well as they refer them to stones of power associated with each season or each month. I'm not familiar with this piece. There's another here that deals with constellations, stars, perhaps. Being born under different ones is said to control one's fate, or at least influence it. And this one here, he takes the other one, and this is the leather-bound tome. This one here is for the discerning eye. It's something I'm not fond of sharing with unless I trust someone.
I kind of perk up when he mentions way lines, because I remember some research I've done in the past, and I kind of lean my head in towards Vesper. That one on way lines might be useful.
How much for the one on the way lines?
This one, research done by a hedge wizard, very little repute, but had some interesting notes. For this one, I would let it go for 20 gold pieces.
I look back at Ellory.
Written by a hedge wizard of very little repute?
That is what makes it so remarkable. If he was able to find so much information of these waystones, while his name themselves bears little weight.
But how do we know he's of little repute? How do we know he's a reliable source?
Well, when you're dealing with and he suddenly crooks up, waystones, that is what they're called. When you're researching waystones, there's very little information at all. You have to sort of take what you can get.
I'll look back to Ellory again.
Let's take a closer look at these others before we make any decisions. The one about constellations? What else can you tell me about that one?
It's a short tome that details each of the constellation signs, denoting each month, and how it might affect someone's fate for being born on such a day.
That sounds singularly useless for me, to be honest.
I'm sorry to hear that. And he kind of takes that to him and kind of pulls it back.
Actually, can we just take a peek at it for a moment? Just to flip through.
Just a peek, and he opens it up, turns it, and kind of shows you a few quick pages. You see very simply the words "the Lord," and then a depiction of a constellation, and then you also see...
Can I stop him on that one? And just see what date that is?
You try to, but he closes the tome. Well, not without paying, of course.
Is there a way we could rent the books? Just read them briefly.
For 15 gold pieces, I will let you read the book for 1 hour.
I just paid 15 for a one-of-a-kind journal that I get to keep, and you're going to charge me the same price to rent a book for an hour.
It is 5 gold less, and plenty enough time to copy notes that you can keep.
Amsen, what do you think?
Up to you. I don't know. It's a little bit different in the world of bards, where you exchange stories for stories. It's not often you pay someone for something that you're not entirely, what's it called? Where you're rather ill-informed about its contents. Personally, I wouldn't take it, but if it comes up again, then maybe we can find something similar somewhere else.
I just don't see how useful it is to look at star signs and such when I don't even know when I was born, what month it was.
That's fair.
Could make a guess, but that's about it.
I'm going to quietly say to Ellory, well, she called Ball the Lord Child. On that one constellation was called the Lord.
Maybe we should ask him if he's interested in it.
You can always come back.
Mm-hmm.
So what shall it be?
There was that final tome you were secretive about. What precisely does that cover?
This one I only share between friends. I'm not so sure we are. If I had some assurance of your keeping it mum, I perhaps would be inclined to tell you more.
Can I get a sense of how serious he is about this? Like, is this kind of a sales pitch to drive up the price, or does he actually have some important secret information?
Roll an inside check.
All right. 13.
He seems genuine. And you're not sure if that's just the skill charm of a salesman, or if he genuinely doesn't want to share this. Unless he can trust you.
How can we prove to you that we're trustworthy?
A bit of coin might help.
I'll put 3 gold on the counter.
Or perhaps a secret that I could hold. He doesn't touch the gold. He glances at it, but then looks back up. Perhaps something which you wouldn't want me to tell as collateral.
I'm not sure I have many secrets.
Surely you have one. You're not from around here, I can tell that much. You especially. Perhaps it's best, and he begins to kind of take the book and put it back under the shelf. Perhaps we leave that on the shelf for now. Between these 2 tomes, what would you like?
We can always ask the others if they're interested in the one about stars. Even if we're not, us personally are not interested in it, maybe one of our other friends are.
Maybe we should take the one in the Waystones, though.
It sounds kind of interesting.
And you mentioned that the term has come up.
I've done a little bit of research. Come across a few mentions before in the past. I'm not sure this will tell me anything more than what I already know, though.
How extensive is this research on the Waystones?
How extensive is any research on the Waystones? Small, questionable as far as its validity, but present. It's something. I will tell you this, it mentions 3 Waystones and potential locations of them.
Well, Ellory, if you want it, I'm open to chipping in a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
To buy or rent?
Well, how much would it be to rent versus to buy?
15 versus 20.
5 gold each. And we can take notes. Just
sounds good.
Browse through for what we're looking for and then give it back instead of hauling around a book we don't need.
Yep.
Okay. We'll rent it for an hour.
So be it. He hands you the tome. Would you need to purchase parchment as well?
I have some.
And he'll offer, if you need any, he'll offer parchment for 1 copper a page, or 1 silver a page. He marks it up. But you have it for an hour, plenty enough time to get some notes, and I'll send you that as y'all spend the next hour writing notes, printing this tome, for this less of a tome and more just a collection of parchment bound together. As you were doing that, Kalvyn, you reach back to the boat. Also, you've been on the boat. Were you doing anything in particular?
How much time has passed?
Maybe a couple hours. Maybe 2 or 3.
Not really then. I think just kind of, I'm not too restless yet, so nothing in particular.
Okay. Eventually, after 3.5 hours, you hear the clanking of metal and see Kalvyn, who's returned to the ship.
How did you like the village?
It's nice. It's they have temples and other stuff. I mostly saw the temples.
I didn't know you were interested in temples.
Maybe not, but I was just, looking in. Maybe I had a hidden interest within me that I was unaware of, and I was just trying to make sure that, if I touch my bases and some temples.
Did you find a temple you liked the most?
Well, I didn't really browse too much, but I did go into one, and they're pretty nice. A little egotistical, I think, maybe. Might not be the right word. But they actually, I didn't get to investigate anymore because they offered, they were looking for something, and they asked for our services in finding them. And so I thought I'd come find everybody, and maybe we can go find their salts.
I don't think I'll be able to help you. I have to stay on the boat.
Oh shit, that's right. This was probably a bad idea then. Huh. Well, maybe, I don't know where the others went. So maybe we can, brainstorm an idea. They did offer us, an opportunity to use the forge. The salts are for a forge. And if we find them, we can use the forge. And they also said something about money, but I don't know about that. Whatever. But maybe you and I could brainstorm up some ideas on how to pursue it while we wait for the others to show up, because I don't know where they are.
Well, I would be happy to help. I just don't want to cause any trouble.
Right. But, I mean, nobody's telling you can't talk. We can hash it out. The brains of the group right here, we'll figure out what we need to do. When everybody else show up, we'll just grab a ticket and move on.
I never thought of us as the brains of the group.
It's because you don't need to. You don't need to think about it. It's stuff just sometimes comes naturally to those gifted.
Well, do you have any ideas? Maybe I can ask them nicely.
Well, they said that, or the man I talked to, said something about a cemetery and a catacombs. That's about all I wrote down.
So I should tell the guard that I am here to visit the cemetery?
Well, I mean, we're here to collect the fire souls for Valasol's temple, their sun forge, which, I mean, that sounds mighty awesome, and I think if you were to tell them that you're here to do something for the sun forge, then maybe, they'll be like, ooh, that's pretty impressive.
Do you think maybe the temple can give me permission? Maybe write me a letter of recommendation?
That's a pretty good idea. You know what? Why don't you wait here for the other? See, this is why, we're the brains. You wait here and you tell the others that we got some stuff for doing, and then I'm gonna go get that permission slip, and then we'll all mosey on our way.
Okay.
And Kalvyn will point past him and nod and say, glory and honor to you, or victory, or yep. And then he'll just kind of shuffle his way out.
And Ball will look over his shoulder to where Kalvyn is pointing. You're pointing, are you pointing past Ball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Southward into the sea.
So Ball just kind of Ball steps out of the way in case he's in the way of something, and then looks behind him. And then it's a moment of Ball looking out into the sea. And then just confusion as he looks back at Kalvyn. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
So, Kalvyn, you're going to find a permission slip? What are you looking for?
I'm going to go back to the guy that I talked to, and I'm going to be all, hey, I have a friend that might need some help getting off the boat, but he's a valuable asset to the team. And, can you please help get him off the boat?
Okay, so you're heading back up to the temple. As you begin to make your way up there, the three of you, the half-elves and Vesper, you take your hour copying down all the notes. There's not much, it's only a few pages, but you copy it all down. And then what you're doing.
So, I'd like to stop in a clothing store. And did we want to go visit the temples?
That might be nice. Sort of see what they've got.
Maybe somebody there would have an idea.
Yeah.
And then we shall grab some groceries for the rest of our companions.
Okay. So were y'all doing shopping first, then temples?
I think so.
Okay. Unless y'all wanted something custom, we can just kind of say y'all went and took the time to go get the clothes and then groceries, spending kind of however much you wanted. Going into the trade district, there's a lot of built stores, wooden buildings, a few stone ones here and there for forges and sort of nicer, more permanent structures, and then a lot of stalls for fresh produce, a lot of fish, stuff like that. And you can find a clothing store as well. And are you just buying like a common set?
Yeah, something simple but comfortable and sturdy.
Okay. You can get that for 1 silver.
Okay.
It's not fancy, but it's just a cotton set of clothes.
I'd also like to see if I could get a box of some sort that looks like it would be big enough to hold whatever might be, whatever the object might be.
Like a small crate that could hold a 6-pack of beer, or something bigger or small?
I think I would look to Vesper.
Yeah, if we can find something
estimate
that would have, I suppose, almost a size of an input, whatever would hold judging by like the swell of her belly and everything, roughly something that would hold that.
Yeah, y'all could pay the produce people an extra silver and get sort of a wooden crate that should be able to hold that. Depends on how much food you wanted to get. We'll say a silver per pound of fresh food. Meats, vegetables, grains, bread. Basic stuff, nothing fancy, but basic stuff. And an extra silver for the crate itself.
Okay.
It's not a fancy crate, but it's wooden.
And it closes, it hides whatever's inside of it.
There's a top to it. It doesn't have hinges, but there's a top.
Okay. But as long as like we can close it and keep whatever's in there visually concealed.
Yeah, you will.
Okay. And then the temple district.
Okay. And y'all go up to the temple. After shopping and then heading up there, we'll say for convenience sake, as you are walking along the wooded park, a fairly large park, just south of the Reverend Ark, you all see the armored Kalvyn, who's pretty easy to spot. There's not a whole lot of half-orcs in the area, and hardly any with a bronze shield. And you'll notice him as he's heading up to the temple area as well.
Kalvyn!
What? Huh?
Hey.
Hail and well, oh, it's just you guys. Hey, what's up?
We're heading over to the temples.
Holy shit, I found you. Okay, well, did you talk to Ball?
We haven't been back to the ship yet.
Well,
There's something wrong with him.
No, but you're screwing things up. We had planned out something, and you guys didn't do your part, and that's going to upset Ball terribly. To give you the skinny, I have a proposal from one of these temple folk, and I'm going to try to get them to get a permission slip to get Ball off the boat so that we can find some salts to light up a forge. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I understood all of that.
I understood those words individually.
I don't know why you would say that out loud. That seems like, yeah, duh.
Well, anything that gets Ball off the ship would be good.
Alright, well, we still need to talk to some of the people in the temples anyways.
Yeah, we were gonna see if we could find any information. Though, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the point is at this point. I mean, whatever it is that being wanted from me, she sure changed her mind real fucking quick.
Great, but don't you want to know what it was?
Maybe. Don't know if it's going to be any use to anyone.
I'm a bit curious, so.
Well, it's probably not a terrible idea to stop at, if they have a Temple of Valasol here, to stop at the Temple of Valasol. And if they don't know, then maybe there's a knowledge deity that has a temple here that we could talk to those priests, and maybe they would know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as you're all standing there, you can see the 5 temples in front of you. The central one and the largest one is a stone fortress, and it's actually halfway embedded into the inner city wall that separates this section of town from the noble or high district. There is a walkway down the center with portcullis closed, as well as other depictions of a wolf upon it. To the left of that is the Valasol temple. You see a depiction of the sun. To the right, you see a staff inside of a gear. To the right of that, you see a dragon depicted on the temple. And to the very left, on the left side of the Valasol temple, you see a lion wreathed in wings. Or a lion's head wreathed in wings.
That's the only one.
Do any of you know what these others are?
Can I roll religion and find out?
You don't have to. Okay. Anyone that has religion trained would know these. The central one is Wolfarath, the god of war, and it is the founding first king of this place, of Western. The kingdom is ruled by the descendants of Wolfarath. Wolfarath was a mortal man who ascended into godhood. To the left is Valasol, god of light, fire, and the sun. To the right, you see the goddess Savera, truth and arcana. To the right of that, the dragon is the temple of Akashan, justice and nobility. And then the last one, Vesper, you know well, is the Temple of Valasol, Redemption, and Silent Prayer. And are you all going into one together? Or is Kalvyn going into the Valasol one to talk to Abdullah?
Calvin's going to assume he is on a quest, glory, and virtue, and cannot be hindered by weird Pegasi and folks on them.
And the sunshine warms upon your shoulder hesitantly, as you feel such. As you walk towards the Temple of Valasol, the rest of you, I assume, walk into the Temple of Valasol.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as you approach the doors, we'll jump over to Ezekiel, who's been resting against a boulder a bit northwest, near the river, in distant eyesight of the Warkeep. You can see the sun is setting in the west.
All right. Figuring it's about time, I will give one last look around, make sure no one has been, like, following me and watching me to figure out what I'm doing.
A little perception check.
Watch me sit for 3 hours. 11.
A couple hours ago, some kids ran by and stopped and walked, kind of gawking at you. They had sticks. They seemed to be just playing. But that was about 2 hours ago. And you haven't seen anyone really pay attention to you since.
I'm going to cast Pass Without Trace on myself, and then I'm going to turn into a squirrel.
Okay. So briefly, the wind softens your feet as you step upon the grass of this plain area, and you're morphing into a squirrel.
I'm going to go run towards the keep.
So back in that direction, just as the last bit of the sunlight from sunset fades and darkness takes over. Getting close to the keep, you can see all of the trees have been cleared away to allow a clean eyesight on anyone that would approach Warchild Keep. You can see the tall walls are maybe a solid 40 feet tall of stone, one entrance in the center, gated, and a rook on each corner.
All right. I'm going to run up to the wall, and I'm going to see if I can get my little squirrel claws in there.
Okay. Make an athletics check.
Okay. Not amazing. I have no idea what a squirrel's strength is. I'm assuming it's not great, but it does add my proficiency, so that should be an 11 plus or minus a squirrel's strength.
Okay. But the squirrel does have a climbing speed?
Yes.
Okay. The stones aren't as easy to climb since they're man-made as a tree would be, but you can kind of slowly make your way. You slip and have to start over every now and then, but you can eventually climb your way up, clinging to the mortar in between these big stones, getting to the top where the ramparts are. Keeping your head just over. You see no one immediately, not on this north wall.
All right. Any lights on in the keep?
Yeah, looking down into the courtyard, there's 2 torches that burn outside the gate, and it looks like some of the windows have lights in them.
All right. I assume it's not close enough to the wall where I could jump it, right? Like onto a windowsill?
You potentially could if you walked along the rampart towards the sort of central area where the keep itself resides.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so you trot along, heading in that direction. Roll a stealth check for me.
All right. That is an 18.
Okay. You trot along. You notice, you hear something behind you, glancing over your squirrel shoulder, and you see a archer or watcher upon the ramparts that's just kind of rotating around, moving over to the front right rook, just kind of looking out. He looks in your direction, but almost scans right over you as you just hug the right wall in the darkness. He doesn't seem to notice.
All right.
Continuing on, you move forward and you kind of get to a section of the wall where you could jump to the windowsill. It doesn't have a large balcony or anything like that, but there might be just enough. The closest window is closed, but the one below that is open.
I feel like this attempt is going to go viral on Tumblr, but I'm going to try and jump over there.
Okay, give me an athletics check.
All right. That's a natural one.
So you jump, spreading your arms out as if you're a flying squirrel, but you're not. And you hit, taking at least 1 damage. I think squirrels only have 1 hit point.
Yeah, I'm a boy.
You smell, the first thing you notice as you're kind of recovering from what happened is the smell of grass as you are face first in it. You kind of look up, look around. You hear the clanking of something coming around the corner. You probably have 3 seconds.
Spider form. Not giant, just regular.
Turning into a small spider in the grass. Just as turning the corner, you see a medium armored soldier-looking individual with a band of red with a black stripe. He kind of circles around, looking in the direction. He has a sword out and a shield on his arm. And he's walking towards where you fell. There's a rain barrel to the side as he's kind of eyeing that as it's the only real hiding place anyone could hide. He eventually kind of jumps around it expecting something to be there, but there's nothing. He doesn't seem to notice the tiny spider in the grass.
And you know what? I'm going to give up on this mission and make my very slow way back over the wall as a spider. It's going to take probably close to the full hour just to get far enough away, but I'm gonna spider walk my way out of here in shame.
Okay. So, abandoning this mission, you turn around and spider climb up easily in the spider form, up the wall, across the rampart, and then down the other side, going as far as you can away from the keep before returning to the form.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to the boat and talk to everybody like I had a great day.
Okay. So you follow, there's a small road that kind of leads up to the keep, and it follows along the river. You can see, as you walk along it, why this place is called Whiteguard. You can understand the natural defenses of the river, split by the stone where the city is built upon. The river falls quickly and cascades, causing white rapids. It would be very difficult for any army to cross, making the only ways of attack directly head on into the port, or crossing 2 narrow bridges that appear to be heavily guarded. This is a place of war. But you eventually walk slowly along the path. The stars forming above, the clouds have sort of dispersed for the most part, a few still hang in the air, and eventually make it back to the boat. And as Ezekiel is having happy squirrel spider times, it's only been an hour maybe.
Alright, I am looking out for the rest of my companions to come in so I can give them the news.
Okay. Are you doing anything particular, Bo, on the boat?
I think I've run out of things to do, so I'm just kind of, I don't know, maybe since I'm kind of stuck to the boat, I'll try to go for a swim if I can. I don't know if I can, swim next to the boat.
Do you do so?
Yeah, I think I'd like to.
Okay. Yeah, so you kind of stand up, jump, splashing into the water, drawing some attention. You notice there are, in fact, 2 hounds, now that you jump into the water, that kind of sit up, move into eyesight as they kind of watch and see what you're doing, and you're just swimming around, the waves pushing inward.
Alright, I'll do that for a little while, and once I kind of feel like I've had my fun, I'll find some way to get back on the ship.
Sure.
If it's easier to just get up on the port and then get onto the ship?
Sure. You do notice as you're swimming, the water is cooler here, not warmed by the ember stones, and it is further to the north. But eventually you kind of tire of swimming and making your way back onto the boat. As Kalvyn, you enter into the Temple of Valasol. It's still maybe 2 hours before nightfall. The sun still cascades through the stained glass windows.
I would like to beeline it to Senor giving me instructions.
Okay. You don't immediately see them, but asking about or just looking around, you head out the back door into a small courtyard where you can see at the back against the wall the forge. You can see he is standing there. He turns over talking to someone and notices you. So soon.
Yeah, it doesn't take long, good deeds, what my group does. But we have kind of a small situation. One of my traveling companions has been, is stuck on board our ship. And he is a valuable asset to the team. And, we were hoping that maybe there was a way that you had some influence with the guards to allow him onto shore.
I see. And why, Kalvyn, is your friend stuck on the docks?
They seem to think he's some kind of pet or something. He's intimidating, I guess. I don't know. He's a soft soul. I don't know why anybody would find him threatening, but the guys that board our ship were like, he can't come because he should be, like, killing us or something.
Is he criminal?
No, gosh, no. He is, he's rather large. He's like, big, and he stretches his arm up, and he's like, that's about where his pecs are. I don't know what else. I don't know.
You speak as if your friend is a giant. Is he a Goliath, perhaps?
No, he's a little bit bigger than Goliath, or he's not a giant, though. I mean, he's kind of giant in the use of the word, but he's not a giant. He's a ball.
I won't pull my word for someone I haven't met, but I will send someone to investigate and see if they might get them to reconsider.
Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, if you ever want, I mean, like, we're just on a boat. If you wanted to swing on board, we caught this alligator the other day. We had these alligator steaks. They're so good.
And he kind of nods to you and then just begins calling the word Gaston. Gaston. A moment or two later, a wry kid who can't be 14 or 15 years old in armor runs up, holding a spear and a small wooden buckler. That only looks like it's maybe 2 planks. It's not a very big shield at that. And he runs up. Yes, High Beacon. And kind of takes a soldier stance. The High Beacon nods to him. Gaston, I need you to accompany, this is Kalvyn here, and see why his friend is not allowed into the city. And if you see it fit that perhaps he should, see if you can't speak with the Captain of the Hounds there. You might be useful in collecting or recovering the fire salts. Yes, High Beacon. And he kind of does a strange salute with his spear, and almost begins running off without you, Kalvyn. And then he kind of stops and turns. Are you coming?
Oh, Kalvyn was just kind of standing there in that, like, awkward, like, relaxed kind of pose in front of the other guy, and just kind of like, all right. So we got this moving. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm coming. Yeah, of course.
All right. He looks slow.
Well, I have a lot of heavy armor. It's a very sensitive subject. I would appreciate it if you'd have a little bit more courtesy when you're talking to me.
I didn't know you were a baby. Come on, old man. I'll walk with you. And he, like, jokingly tries to take your arm to, like, walk you across the street like you're an old man.
Kalvyn starts to, like, turn purple a little bit, and he's like, ooh, and then he kind of just thinks of Fruity, and he's like, and then he just kind of rolls into it. Okay, just hold on, my bones are so old and crickety, and he kind of just plays it out.
And he kind of plays into it, too. It's okay, Grandpa, I know you can't remember where you left your sticks or your stacks, but we're going to find them. Don't you worry about that. And he just kind of plays with it as y'all slowly make your way down towards the docks. As you're heading in that direction, Amsen, Vesper, and Ellory, you enter into the Temple of Valasol. Opening the doors, walking in. The second you cross the threshold, the sounds of the city, the talking and yelling, the sound of hoofbeats, with the dire wolves walking, and just the general loud sounds of commotion of the city, suddenly are muffled. You just barely make them out. It's very quiet in there. You see a pristine temple before you. Simple but clean, neat. You can see what looks like healers and medics who come back and forth from the left wing of this small temple, apparently healing the sick or the injured.
That's amazing.
Definitely a bit more impressive than the one we've got back home.
I wonder if we can find the high priest or priestess, the redeemed, or...
Probably doesn't hurt to ask.
I'll go to one of the acolytes and just kind of... Is the redeemed here?
You see a child, in a hooded robe. You can't even tell if it's a boy or a girl because their hood is up. But they look up towards you as you're very tall. Yes, she's in the health ward now. She's wearing the white rope around her robes.
Thank you.
And she kind of nods and goes back to what she was doing, carrying bandages. Gauze just soaked with red blood. As you walk into the main area, you can see the main area has kind of a central altar, a circular one, inscribed with the head of the lion with wings around it. And there is water that surrounds us in a circle around this area that seems to be slowly trickling, running in a circle. You walk into that area and then take a left towards the healing ward, walking into another fairly small room. It's pretty narrow but long, and there are numerous cots and beds set up where there you see the sick, coughing, wounded. You see one or two soldiers, perhaps, with amputated limbs, and a number of robed acolytes, one of which you see has a silver or white belt around the robes.
Well, that's someone I want to speak with.
As you approach her, you see she's has her hands in a basin, washing the blood from her hands. She was apparently recently doing work. She kind of glances over her shoulder and notices your approach. As she turns, you see a female human, probably in her 50s or so. She has white, almost silvery golden hair that seems to almost reflect the sunlight as it bounces off the windows. She has blue eyes with shards of gold around the pupil. She's slender, and you can tell years ago she was probably very beautiful. She wears a simple brown cloak with the simple silver rope belt around her waist, a quiver on it as well, and a bow strapped on her back as well, finishing wiping her hands.
Give that traditional kind of bow that's the symbol for A.
And she returns it. How may I serve you?
I'm Vesper, the Fallen. We're on a pilgrimage to Nymenet, and thought we'd stop in your temple.
Noble mission. I've been there myself. Vivian, the Redeemed. And she nods towards you.
These are my friends.
She nods to them. Hello, and kind of gestures for you to leave, walking with you out of this ward, away from the sick, and towards the outskirts, towards that central room, but just not inside the inner circle. So how may I guide you?
We're actually looking for some answers.
I can. Answers best to my ability.
We recently had a bit of an odd encounter. Ellory, did you want to?
I don't know what to say about it. So we were on the ship here, and we had a visitor. A celestial visitor, apparently.
Her eyes kind of spark at that.
And we don't really know what she wanted, except it had something to do with me. She walked up to me, she touched my forehead, and then she left.
Describe this celestial.
So I do?
Sounds vaguely like a servant of the gods. They were all gold, isn't it? And singing as she begins to think. Seriousness.
And I make sure to repeat the words that Ezekiel was able to translate.
She sort of nods. And did the servant have any symbols of any god in particular?
Not that we can remember. She had runes on her armor and on her Pegasus's armor, but they were old celestial, our friend said.
Perhaps if I saw these runes, I might be of more service. I'm afraid with such little information, it's hard for me to give guidance.
I bought some parchment from the bookstore. Can I try and, from memory?
Yeah. Give me just an intelligence check.
Can I assist with that?
You saw it. Yeah, you could help with that.
Okay. I'll try to draw a few on this one.
Go ahead and roll a separate check.
Alright, I'll roll separately. So that would be a 14 for myself.
I didn't know I froze, I'm sorry.
So 14 for Amsen and Ellory, and Vesper 15. You draw the runes as best you can upon the star. These runes are unfamiliar to me. They certainly don't depict or represent any of the prime deities. Forgive me, my work is in life and in health and redemption, guiding souls upon this path. Lore and the histories are not my forte. You might do better to ask the servants of Silvera. They perhaps might know more.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. Is there something else I could aid you with?
Might we pray here for a while?
She nods and gestures towards the circular altar in the center, surrounded by the running water.
I'm going to hand Amsen the notes in case they want to leave and let them know I'm going to stay for a bit.
I'm going to hand the notes to Ellory and then come up to the altar as well.
I'm going to stand awkwardly in the background.
Okay. So the other two, you cross the running water, feeling a feeling of safety as you cross it. Kneeling down, praying at the altar. The altar is probably the size of a tavern table, but just of solid stone, going all the way to the ground, with the symbol of Ayin in its center. You pray in there for as long as you want, as Ellory waits. And at that point, we're going to hop back over to Kalvyn, limping along with Gaston, who makes it back to the ship, and Ezekiel, you've made it back as well. As Ball, you see Ezekiel first, and then followed behind by Kalvyn and looks like a kid.
Good to see you. We're going to meet, well, you can meet Kalvyn at the temple. I think that was the message. I guess it doesn't matter because I think Kalvyn's coming anyway.
Well, thank you for delivering the message regardless.
No
and Ezekiel will kind of just pat him on the arm.
And then I guess I'll maybe walk up like towards the edge of the boat where Kalvyn and the child are coming. Is it like a child? How old is this child? Kid?
He's maybe 14 or 15. He's not a kid. He doesn't have a presence.
Okay, so it's like about up to my knee?
Yeah, probably. And as he's kind of, you notice he was strangely helping Kalvyn along, as if Kalvyn couldn't walk. But as he sees you, he kind of hangs back, clearly concerned.
And in that moment, yeah, Kalvyn's gonna reach up, like kind of holding on to the boy. I've been like, do you see that tall figure up there? My eyes are going bad.
That's a giant. Are you sure we don't need to stab him? And he kind of holds up his spear.
That's a ball, my young friend. He is a wonderful being.
He's kind of hiding behind you a bit.
Come on now, don't be shy.
If you kind of give him a push, he'll eventually kind of come out from behind you and take a few steps towards the half-ruined giant standing at a little over 10 feet. This kid is maybe, 5'8" or something. The kid does raise his wooden buckler and gets in a fighting stance and slowly skids a step or two towards the halfling.
Now, do whatever you need to do. This is Ball. You can do your autopsy or what are they called? Check-overs. Here. I'll get you started. Ball, I need you to cough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's that. He looks at the boy and he's all like, "That see, that's a mighty fine cough."
The kid flinches, but notices it a bit and gives you a lunge towards you, Ball. He didn't go all the way to strike you, but he kind of gets close, within maybe 3 or 4 feet.
Do I get the impression that this kid can hurt me? Or does he just look like?
You know
what I mean? Like if a little 4-year-old tries to punch at you, you're not really concerned.
Yeah, more like that. I mean, this kid has crappy armor, a simple wooden buckler, and a really basic spear.
So I will probably stick my hand out towards the kid, almost like when you do that when they bigger adults do that thing where they put the hand on the head, so the kid can't actually hit the adult. And as I do that, I'll look at Kalvyn and say, "What's going on here?"
This here youngin, he was sent to meet you, and based on his impressions, he will be determining whether or not you can get off the boat. So play nice.
I should let him hit me.
Hey, come down here. You gotta stomp his foot.
I'll take a knee. Should I get a little more on his level?
Yeah, even at a knee, you're still towering over him. But he kind of looks up at you and inspects you, narrowing his eyes at you. He circles around you, and when he's at your back, he gives you like a kick. He kind of pushes you forward like 3 inches, and that's it. And you can see, you look over his shoulder, he's kind of in a defensive stance, just seeing if you're going to turn and try to smash him. After you don't, he kind of loosens up a bit. You're not so scary, are you? And he kind of comes up to your arm and gives you several pokes.
Paul, this is really important. If you're supposed to be scary, you need you to scare the piss out of this kid.
I don't think he's scary at all. I think it's fine. You're just a pretend giant.
No, I think I am a giant.
I mean, you're big, but you're not a real one. I'm gonna go talk to the hounds and see if they'll let you come.
Okay. Thank you, child.
It is my service for the glory and virtues of Valasol, and he takes a very rigid stance before literally sprinting off the ship and onto the docks, disappearing into the now thinning crowd as night is falling.
Don't run on the docks! Oh, God, kids these days.
He sprints off. Several minutes pass. Eventually, the kid comes back with 3 hounds. You notice 2 of them have simple black bands. One of them has a black band with a red stripe that comes up. See, he's not so bad, and he runs up ahead of the nervous hounds or guards, and just runs up and gives Ball a friendly punch into his leg, and just looks up as Ball is waiting to see him do nothing.
Yeah, I think Ball actually doesn't flinch. Ball doesn't understand this concept of being fake hurt by a child. So I just kind of look at where I was kicked, look at the kid, and then look back at the hounds.
It doesn't hurt at all. But you see the hounds kind of loosen up, seeing someone strike you and you not react. They come up kind of inspecting you. All right. Here's how we'll do this. And he turns to the hounds. I know the High Beacon. He is a strange man, but I trust him. Let's back up you, Ball. You can enter the city, just the lower wards, and these 2 will accompany you wherever you go.
Quick question. Is the cemetery, is where the catacombs are, is that in the lower wards?
Yes.
No problem.
Okay, no problem.
You will enter the city accompanied by these 2 hounds. They will escort you to the cemetery, allowing you to enter into the catacombs to retrieve the fire salts. If you are found trying to flee or attack or any funny business, we will strike you down.
Okay, that sounds fair to me. No funny business. No problem.
All right, you're free. And he kind of shrugs and kind of gestures at the 2 hounds left remaining, like this is your problem now, and he walks off.
All right, we got some new scales in the crew. Let's get some names going. Hey, I'm Kalvyn. This is Ball. That's Zeke. Who are you 2?
Ezekiel.
I said you already, Zeke. Shush.
Well, Dallin is Ronnie. We get this over with.
Dally, Ronald. Good to meet you. We got an important business to go take care of. So if you don't mind, we will go. I think I saw my crew last in the temple area. We'll probably meet them on the way. I think we should go find them.
Fine. And they just kind of step to the side, just planning to follow Ball behind them. As you're kind of planning to go wherever you're going to go. Gaston. All right, well, I'm going to go tell the High Beacon. See you later, old man. And he gives you like a playful punch to the side. It doesn't actually hurt, but he does punch you. And he sprints off.
Immediately falls to the ground. Oh, Sonny, you hit my kidney, wherever that is.
You see pride swell in the kid as he sprints off and heads north.
Are you okay, Kalvyn? Do you want me to get him?
No, it's fine. It's just, kids, they like to, it's all about the I don't know. I'm fine. I was just playing with him. He reminds me a lot of my sister, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Okay.
What's this about a cemetery?
Oh, hey, Zeke, I was assuming that Ball had told you. We gotta go get some salt from some cemetery. I don't know. It's been a long day. I don't remember. We'll sort it out when we get there.
I think it is the salt of Valasol, and it is to be used to make a forge work.
Well, I'm game. My activities were cancelled for the evening. Though, Kalvyn, I must stress, my name is Ezekiel. I prefer the pet names for people I know a little bit more intimately. Once you have had the pleasure, then it will be fine. Now, where are we off to?
Well, I don't know if we got the time for that right now, buddy. I'm honestly, I'm flattered that you would propose such an intimate offering, but we got business to attend to, so maybe when we get late, we'll talk about this later. We should go. I don't want to talk about this in front of Ronald and Don, whatever.
All right, that's fine.
But I'm flattered.
Again, I don't really know what's happening, so you got to lead, but I'm game.
All right, let's go.
You'll begin to set off. Amsen, Vesper, Ellory, you'll kind of pray for however long you want to. The sun is set at this point, and what are you all doing now?
I think heading back to the boat, probably.
Do we want to check out that other temple tomorrow?
That's probably a good idea.
Maybe we can bring Ezekiel along.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all begin to head back towards the docks.
Before we go, is there a way to is there like a donation box at the temple at all?
There is.
Okay, I'm gonna put some gold in that.
Okay, so you drop some coins into it on your way out, heading back down towards the docks. Ellory, as you're walking southward down the sloped hill of the city, you hear words in your mind. I found a rowdy tavern called the Shield Wall. It is on the dock, so your big friend can come. Look for shields.
When I hear this, I kind of pause and look at the others. I just got a message from Allie. Any of you have any shopping to do from him?
No, but I'd like to come.
All right. He's
let's go check on the others first, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all are heading south. You exit the Reverend Arc, then walking through the main road of the Riverwatch district southward, as the guards are sort of pointing the way, but they're still sitting behind Ball, ready to do whatever they need to do. As you're heading north through the trade district and then going through the Riverwatch as well, I'll say Ellory, Amsen, and Vesper, you notice them first. Well, you notice Ball first. The crowds kind of part, and you notice beyond just the two hounds, a few other soldiers are kind of keeping watch, one of which mounted on a direwolf is sort of clinging back but watching carefully.
Ball! You call out.
I'll, scan through the crowd. I guess it'll be a little easier since I'm taller than everyone.
Yeah, you can see them. They're maybe 100 feet or so in front of you.
Look, Kalvyn and Ezekiel, it's the rest of our friends. I should sound more excited.
It's all right, buddy. I mean, we've seen them a bunch of times. It's not like meeting these other two. I can understand not being super excited.
I'll start to kind of walk in that direction.
Yeah, not long, a few seconds, and you're together once more.
Hey, is everything all right? And I glance at the guards that are following along.
There's two mounted hounds on direwolves that are slowly circling.
You didn't get into any trouble, did you?
No, a child gave me permission to see the city.
I just kind of look up at him, confused.
About as good of an explainer as Kalvyn is. Anyways.
Don't worry about it. It seems to be fine as long as those two tag along.
Oh, great. Babysitters.
Lovely.
I was actually thinking that maybe we could head back to the boat. Well, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily that we head back to the boat, but we could have a nice dinner tonight. All of us.
I thought we were gonna go get salts.
Right now? It's getting late.
We're charging into the, cemetery. So, I don't think it's gonna matter what time of day it is once we go under the dock. We don't know how long this may take.
If this changes anything, I did just get a message from Allie about where he's staying, and I have a bit of shopping to do with him. Don't know if it necessarily has to be done tonight, but I also don't know how long he's going to be staying there.
Well, if you got shopping to do, money would probably help with that. Maybe.
But didn't we promise to meet him tonight?
Well, I just wanted to say that I have been on a boat for the whole day, and I am very bored.
I don't blame you.
Can I kind of nervously turn to one of our babysitters? Is the cemetery in the Revenant Arc?
It's nearby.
Okay. Do we want to swing by the Temple of Severa and then go to the cemetery? Or do we want to just wait until tomorrow for that?
Maybe just wait until tomorrow for that. Don't want to pile too many things into one evening. We do have a few days in town.
Well, is your shopping important to get to before we go do this task, or might it be better afterwards in case we need to resupply?
It can wait.
Then why don't we go on another jolly little adventure?
Maybe later Vesper can see if there is a Temple of AI.
There is. You and I could go maybe tomorrow.
Okay. If I'm still allowed.
I'm sure they'll let you go and pray.
We'll see if the little child is nice to me.
So where are you heading?
To the cemetery.
Okay. So continuing in that direction, the hounds, your babysitters, Dallin and Ronnie, point in the direction of the Wintershade Garden or the cemetery. Eventually you enter into a small area with numerous gravestones, many of them old, a few mausoleums, and an obelisk that raises up in its center, a peak of dark gravestone. And they kind of point you in that direction, walk you in, and point you towards a mausoleum that is built into the side wall of the city. There's no door. There's just a staircase downward into darkness. We'll wait outside for you. Just make sure you come out this entrance.
Not to be a stickler for rules, but I think you're supposed to accompany us, if I'm not mistaken.
No, these brave defenders of civilization must stay out here and keep it safe.
Hey, listen, we've been trying to find them for a while, but we're fighters, not fucking hunters. Good luck.
You too. Hopefully nothing dark happens in the cemetery at night. No, just like do the ooh down the stairs.
Right, we'll just leave you here alone in the dark in a cemetery by yourselves.
Dallin
While
rolls
us
his
big,
eyes.
strong fighters and hunters go down into the dark. Bye. I'll follow
Dallin
Ezekiel
rolls
down.
his eyes and kind of huffs and turns his shoulder. The other one begins to, Ronnie does, but he turns and kind of walks a few steps away. Listen, I will fucking with you, but be careful down there. There's some funny shit that's been going on. We've been going missing. Skeletons walking down there. We've sent hounds there. Some have come back, some haven't. Watch your back.
Is there something going, like you said, funny business? Is there like a known problem? Is there some sort of cult?
I'll just say whispers of patterns. I don't know. Maybe. I've heard the term cult. Some mages. They follow one of the old arcanists. Tried to overthrow the crown a few generations back. Skeletal army. Wiped them out, but I think it has something to do with that.
When he mentions walking skeletons, I get visibly tense.
I should go tell Ezekiel that he might have been joking, but he was right. And then I'll go down the catacomb steps to inform Ezekiel.
And as y'all go down the steps, leaving, he calls out one last thing. And if you see anybody, bring them out. If not, out of the goodness of your own heart, there's rewards if you save anyone down there. As you descend into the mausoleum. And we're going to take a break and we'll come back. And what do you guys think? Maybe 10:10? Does that work for you guys? About 15 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come 10 minutes past the hour.
Next time on Back to the Story.
It is cold down here, and there's no light, no candles. There's a dusty, moldy scent in the air.
I know you were joking, but they said you were right. There are going to be scary things in here.
These robed figures of death. You freeze up, the flames that you're holding in your hands kind of flicker out.
Ellory, come on!
And Ezekiel, you just make out the faint sounds of sniffling, of stifled crying.
For part 2 of this episode of Back to the Story, you can find it on Stitcher, Google Play, Player FM, or TuneIn. If you'd like to support the show, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory.